Hello and welcome to Castle of Horror, the show dedicated to horror movies and awesomeness. This week we kick off a new series on dinosaurs with the 1969 film, The Valley of Gwangi. This is, by the way, our episode 289. This is our 289th movie review, if you don't count a dress rehearsal that we recorded of Van Helsing. Or maybe it was Dracula. We did one that we didn't actually put up long ago. Anyway, bear in mind, if you haven't seen today's movie, we're going to be talking about it from the perspective of horror fans who have seen it. So warning, spoilers ahead. From Denver, Colorado, I'm your host, Jason Henderson, writer of the upcoming Young Captain Nemo, Quest for the Nautilus. With me from Austin is Tony Salvaggio, tech director at Rooster Teeth, lead singer and bassist of the band Deserts of Mars, and lead guitarist of the band Rise from Fire. Say hello, Tony. Howdy. And also in Austin, writer of the long-running underground comic series Halloween Man, the very reason that we are doing a bunch of movies about dinosaurs, winner of the 2018 Best of Austin Award from the Austin Chronicle, Mr. Drew Edwards. Say hello.
Dynamite. Yes, I made that terrible pun. And by the end of this retrospective, everybody's going to be sick of me talking about dinosaurs. Maybe not.
The only way not to be will be to put ourselves in that headspace where we are thrilled once again, like young children, to find out that there are giant thunder lizards that could be running around, and that we're running around exactly where we were.
If anybody's sick of dinosaurs, do we actually don't want to know those people? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't want to judge if you're just, I hate dinosaurs and you're sick of this. Hey, you probably won't tune into the rest of this podcast anyway and you'll skip it. So whatever. But if
you dinosaur killed my mother, Tony.
Yeah. But if you are sick of dinosaurs, man, you must have hated my love of Godzilla too. So I don't think you have anything to worry, Drew. Maybe I'm biased, but that's how I feel.
And finally, also in Denver, as always, color commentary from attorney Julia Guzman of Guzman Immigration of Denver. Say hello, Julia.
I see dynamite and I raise you a dynamation.
Dynamation. Sweet. Now that's a deep cut, because that actually refers to today's film, The Valley of Gwangi. Now, The Valley of Gwangi is a 1969. This is just like 2 years after the movie that we did last week. 1969 American Western fantasy film produced by Charles H. Schneer and the one and only Ray Harryhausen and directed by Jim O'Connelly. It stars James Franciscus, who I know from Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Richard Carlson, and the lovely Gila Golan. Creature stop motion effects were by Mr. Harryhausen himself, and this is the last dinosaur movie that he animated. This movie began as the brainchild for the special effects wizard from King Kong, Mr. Willis O'Brien, and but he died before it could come to fruition, and it became a Harryhausen picture. So I'm not completely certain why this is the movie as opposed to many other dinosaur movies we could have picked, but it was delightful. So let's find out. Drew, let's get our opening thoughts. Drew, Julia, Tony, and then I'll go. Drew, opening thoughts, The Valley of Gwangi.
Well, as to the why, twofold reason. Obviously, I am crowdfunding right now for a dinosaur-themed Halloween Man comic, but I will wait till the end of the podcast to talk too much about that because I don't want to get people to get sick of that. But the reason why I chose this over one of the lovely caveman versus dinosaur pictures that Harryhausen also did is this actually happens to be my all-time favorite Ray Harryhausen movie. I just never get tired of watching it. Even though I watched it just last night, I could go ahead and watch it over again. There's just something about the combination of cowboys and dinosaurs like together that it becomes like it's just like perfect. It tickles the inner 10-year-old so perfectly well. I also I brought this up on a few other episodes of the show. I love anything that has like this kind of like expedition feel to it, whereas like we're going to something, we're going to find something. And I think it goes back to, The Lost World, written by, not the Doyle one, not the sequel to Jurassic Park. Just this idea that you're searching for something and you find prehistoric creatures. And, usually it's on like an island or like a jungle plateau or something like that. this bringing it closer to home by having it in Mexico and having this like Wild West setting makes it even more interesting. I love that about it. I love the animation. I love the all the personality that Harryhausen gives the Allosaurus, Gwangi. A lot of people, I've seen a lot of people be critical of the movie by saying that it's basically just King Kong with a cowboy coat of paint on it. And I guess
Mhm.
that's fair, but I am just endlessly fascinated by this
Yeah, they say
movie.
like that's a bad thing. That's the
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh no, that's awful.
yeah.
Who would want to watch that? Oh wait, me.
Well, I love King Kong anyway, so this is just a perfect little nucleus of things that I love in one movie, and flaws though it may have, I will forgive them, and I'm happy that we're doing this because back when we did have over the years have done other Ray Harryhausen movies, I've always secretly plotted a way to get us to do Gwangi, so I'm glad that we're finally here tonight.
That's fabulous. Thank you, and thank you for that introduction. And we'll keep all of that in mind as we go along, especially just the crazy kind of expedition that this is. There's some wonderful dialogue about that. Julia, what are your opening thoughts? Valley of Gwangi.
This film was very strange. I am not a huge fan of westerns, so that kind of the whole cowboy theme gets a little bit, takes me out of it just a little bit. But the creatures are really neat looking. I mean, all the Harryhausen effects are really interesting, and fun. And there's some clever pieces. It's not my favorite just because, like I say, the Wild West thing isn't my jam, and then I didn't really get connected to the characters, but I did enjoy the dynamation, and I enjoyed some of some of the bits, some of the other effects as well. So I think I'm gonna say it's a mixed bag for me, just because it's not my type of film, but there's nothing in particular that I disliked about it. Except, well, that's not true. There is one thing. There's a lot of really just like stuff that this would not happen anymore. Offensive stuff. And some things about how they treat some of the real live animals. So there are some things that I definitely would think it would definitely not happen now because of just how we, our social mores and the way we've decided that animals should be treated. So yes, that was the thing I didn't like. But otherwise, like I say, there's some things I think it's gonna be fun to talk about. There's some things I liked and some things I was kind of meh about.
Wonderful. Tony, what are your thoughts?
I like the movie overall. Julia, did you or did you not want to kick Tuck Kirby?
Yeah, sometimes for sure.
Man,
Sometimes for sure.
Such a jackass. I hate that guy. I mean, he ends up being sort of redeemed, but man, for a good half of the movie,
Yeah.
he's insufferable.
Mhm.
But no, I of course love Harryhausen. I have no problems watching something that's more dinosaurs and King Kong with a different coat of paint. No problem with that. Yeah, I mean, I like the movie overall. I also love westerns. I guess the only way it could be better is if the Cowboys roped and were riding the dinosaurs. That would be amazing. But that's a totally different movie. I don't know if that movie's been made, but yeah, no, I dig the movie. I'm kind of with Julia. There's a lot of stuff where you're like, oh yeah, but I mean that happens a lot with older films, and you can appreciate what the films were. But hands down for the special effects, the all the creatures look cool. It definitely made me kind of go want to watch Land of the Lost when they have all the cave parts and stuff. Yeah, I dig it. I'm glad that we're doing this dinosaur retrospective.
Uh-oh. You're gone again, Jay.
Can you hear me? All right.
Yeah.
Hang on. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. That's
So make
weird.
a make another note just right after
Yeah,
Tony
no,
starts. Okay.
I got it. I'm sorry. I really am. I don't know why it's happening. Okay, don't worry. I'll be able to catch it. Very good. For my own thought, I just wanted to call attention to this wonderful quotation, which is from this movie. And it's, "Don't you see, we must follow the Gypsy Trail to the Forbidden Valley, because where there is one Eohippus, there must be others." To me, honestly, there are two kinds of people in the world. There's people who hear a line like that and go, that is the movie for me. and people who go, ugh, and they'll read that line as if it's proof itself of why you shouldn't watch the film. And I'm definitely one of the first kind, where to me, something that opens your eyes with wonder and makes you go, yes, I want to follow the Gypsy Trail to the Forbidden Valley. That sounds great. I just love that. So this is definitely my kind of thing. Also, I really, on the contrary, I really liked the characters. I like that it is kind of King Kong, but it's actually more like the greatest show on earth. You know, the girl has a suffering circus business. They're trying to get a new act going. You know, there's the old lover returns. This is a plot that is, you know, really as old as Hollywood, and I'm all for it. All of this is just great stuff. All this melodrama makes me very happy. I did not recognize James Franciscus at all. He's playing Tuck, the you know, self-important schmuck who is the lead of the film. I didn't recognize him without the beard that he has in you know, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. So you know, I don't know. He's probably the most traditionally handsome actor I've ever seen. He truly is. So okay. The first thing I want to mention about this film before we go into like what is up with Cowboys and Dinosaurs. First thing I want to mention, this film, for the listener, is about a guy who returns to a traveling rodeo that is run by his ex-girlfriend that he used to work for in the rodeo, and he wants to make an offer for one of her acts so that he can make a lot of money and she can make a lot of money and he can like go retire. And while he's there, they get this idea that they're going to go into a hidden valley and bring back some mysterious creatures because they've already got one of them. And that sort of is what kicks off this adventure. That makes it a very simple story. I just want to point out Mexico in this movie is played by the nation of Spain, and that is remarkable to me. And Spain looks great. So,
By the way, the intro, I had forgotten. It had been a while since I've seen the movie.
Yeah.
I had forgotten that Peter Jackson just decided, you know what? The intro to Bad Taste. Here we go.
I haven't seen Bad Taste in a long time. So did it literally lift the same?
It's not. I mean, it's not a direct rip, but the similarities are enough that I had forgotten that, and then watched this and was like, oh yeah, okay, cool.
So before we get into the actual plot of the film, the movie is a Cowboys and Dinosaurs movie. And there's actually, for some reason, there's a lot of Cowboys and Dinosaurs movie because I've also seen The Beast of Hollow Mountain, which came out, I believe, in 1956, and is very, very similar to this. It doesn't have the big top greatest show on earth plotline going, but Drew, you're kind of our expert in goofiness like this. Is there some reason why there's a lot of Cowboys and Dinosaurs movie, or does it only appear that there are a lot? In fact, there's only two.
Well, no, there's at least. I mean, you mentioned the two ones that everybody remembers. There's a few like super low rent ones, and even just a couple of years ago, there was a movie that came out called Cowboys versus Dinosaurs.
Was there really?
Yeah, you can probably find that one on Amazon Prime. I think it's because Cowboys and Dinosaurs are actually inherently linked. There was a point in time called during the early periods of paleontology called the Bone Wars, where you had people out in like the South and the Southwest, like feuding over dinosaur bones and literally, getting into like fights over who could discover the most dinosaur species. And a lot of those guys were effectively cowboys. And there's also just something about the American, or in this case, the Mexican frontier,
Yeah.
that kind of has a prehistoric vibe to it. Like it's really easy to picture dinosaurs running around in it. And I mean, that's not an accident. Like Tyrannosaurus Rex, arguably the most famous dinosaur of all, is made his home in the American Southwest. So it's not a weird thing at all that people keep combining these two things. I think this is the best sort of mashup of Cowboys and Dinosaurs. Like a lot of those other movies aren't very good. This one at least has, like, for whatever you think of the tropes that it falls back on, or some stuff about it that might be dated, this movie still at least has some artistry to it. Whereas, I don't really think Beast from Hollow Mountain, like I don't think of that as it's a fun movie, but I don't think it's a particularly good movie. I actually would qualify this as a good film, if nothing else, because of Harryhausen's amazing creature effects.
Harryhausen's effects, but also I have to say I really like the camaraderie of the group. Once they're out looking for dinosaurs, the funny thing is they keep interrupting themselves with like inter character plot. Like, I don't trust you, you don't trust me. I'm a guy who's accused of being a horse thief. You're a guy who falsely accused me. But then we're going to work together and like pull down some rocks or try to capture a pterodactyl. And it's kind of cool. I just love that kind of business and seeing them. This is the kind of thing where I can imagine myself being an 11-year-old, in 69 and just going, yeah, I want to be up on a horse and I want to like be next to that campfire and I want to be like hunting for dinosaurs with these cowboys. What more could you possibly want? That's fantastic.
I can think of a lot of things.
Well, yeah. So if you were an 11-year-old, maybe you would not be watching this and going, in fact, I can imagine the sort of it crowd, meaning Stephen King's it crowd, that drags you to the dinosaur movie and you're like just sighing deeply and going, I can't believe that you're making me watch this.
I mean, it's
Literally
literally different now.
Yeah, that's how I literally just sighed deeply right as you were saying that.
I mean, Julia's a good sport, and we're a better podcast for having her on.
For sure.
But yeah, but after her opening thoughts, it's kind of like, did 11 or now? Is this?
I mean, I watched this movie last night at 41 years of age, pretty much the same way I watched it when I was 11, for what it's
Sure. Yeah.
worth. But I think your mileage obviously might vary as Julia keeps getting it.
I mean, again, we've talked about this a lot. There is an adventure film like this has a very specific audience. And for better or worse, it's aimed at young boys and us who are still maybe emotionally stunted older
Young,
boys.
I prefer young
at heart.
Young at heart as well. I was
Yeah.
going to say that, but it depends on what level of normalcy you consider normal. And that's just kind of the way that is. It definitely falls in all the tropes. Like, again, we've talked about this several times as we covered a bunch of adventure movies. There's a young boys adventure fantasy that this movie and others like it fulfill.
Yeah.
And while everyone can love them, it's less likely if you don't kind of fall into, I love this whole kind of swath of this genre. It's not going to be your all-time favorite, even if you dig on it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I'm still all in. So,
where do we start? Let's start with we begin with the Romani, who the movie calls Gypsies, and I will forgive myself and everybody else on this show, even though I have no right to forgive anybody anything. But we might use the word Gypsies in passing because that's what the movie calls them, and it's hard to remember to not call them Gypsies, and that's a really complicated one because that's a slur that has been remarkably difficult to get rid of. But anyway,
yeah, and I think there's something to that as well. That's one of the things I've been trying to be more cognizant of, But when you grow up again with the decades of horror movies where that's the term,
sure,
it's very easy. Not that you shouldn't catch yourself and change that, but it's very easy to fall back into that. And as a kid, when you come across this, you just think, oh well, that's what they're called.
Yes.
That's these people, that you may or may not. I mean, certainly growing up in the U.S., I didn't encounter anyone like this until I went to Europe.
Yeah.
like that to youngsters, especially like werewolf movies, etc.
Sure.
You don't know any better until you do, and then it's up to you to try to be responsible, I guess.
Well, speaking of, you brought up like the way that relates to horror films. Those characters have basically, we talk about how this movie's a genre mashup.
Yeah.
Those characters have wandered out of a universal horror movie. Like
Yes.
they
absolutely.
are basically the Romani people that you would see in the Wolfman.
Yeah, right
Like,
down to the vests and everything. The vests
Yeah,
and
they-
the hangers.
Or Vampire Circus. If you
Yes.
want to go
yeah,
hammer.
they have nothing and I like, why are they in this movie? Because that's something I'm always like, other than the fact that like you accept it because it's a monster movie, but it's not a Western trope and it's not a dinosaur movie trope. It's even when you see this in genre movies, it's usually vampire or werewolf movies, but for some reason they put this in there, and I just find it so odd.
It is totally odd, but it's delightful. I mean, that's
Oh
the
yeah, the eye patch matriarch.
Do you know who she is?
Just
And
amazing.
just to describe the scene real quick, one Romani gentleman, the whole crew are looking for him. He's named Miguel. He wanders out of the wilderness and collapses near some water, and he has a bag of with a mysterious animal in it. And they come and find him, and the old lady with a patch, this old Romani lady, she goes, it's cursed. The whole land is cursed. Blah blah blah. Do you know who this is? This woman is Frida Jackson, who was the woman who did the cackling midwifing of the vampire in Brides of Dracula.
Oh,
Isn't that
wow.
amazing? Yes.
funny.
She was that insane. She was insane in that movie, and it was so
I have
wonderful.
seen both of these movies dozens of times, and I have never noticed that.
Yeah, she really inhabits this role. I mean, good for her. By the way, she just sort of disappears into it. She's
She
got
is
one.
Lorena, the witch.
Yeah,
Is her man. She's like giving her like a milky eye. I want to see. Now I kind of want to see this trope just added
or
because she's so
Spexico,
amazing.
as some websites call it. Speak Spanish.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, she's amazing though. Her whole
Yeah.
drive and her role in telling these people, you're really messing up. Like you should really leave all this alone. And of course,
Yeah,
nobody
there's secrets
listens.
over that hill. Don't go near there. And she has a helpful helper. She literally has a little person who is her
Oh,
constant
yeah.
companion and assistant,
Mm.
which makes her
They both do not fare well in this film.
No.
It makes her a lot like Dr. Shrinker had Billy Barty. There's this long tradition of like having like a sidekick who is a little person. I can't even begin to tell you why. Why do these tropes happen? I have no idea.
It makes you wonder if her ancestor isn't the witch in Pumpkinhead.
Yes.
as we're staying in the in the West.
Yep.
I love the little kid Lope. It's so
Oh
cute.
yeah,
Lupe.
No,
right?
Lope with an O.
It's
Lope,
L-O-
I'm sorry.
O-P-E. Lope.
it
Lope.
probably should be. I think
Yeah, but it's
traditionally, but it's
but
not.
it's Lope.
Yeah.
No, Lupe is actually a female name anyway, so it's neither one of those names makes any sense.
I knew a guy named Lupe, but yes, traditionally you're correct. When I found that out, I was like, I wonder if that's one of those Boy Named Sue kind of
Mhm.
like. Did he? I mean, I didn't know anything when I was younger,
So
I just
Lope
wondered,
is
like, oh, is that tough when he was growing up? I don't know.
we're really in the world of super tropes now because after that little opener, then handsome actor James Franciscus rolls into town looking for the rodeo and immediately hooks up with this boy who will guide him around and knows where all the bodies are buried and whatever.
I cannot figure out for the life of me what this movie's attitude towards capitalism is. It seems to be, and I've seen this movie probably 100 times. So
Yeah.
that's like every time, like, because it seems kind of critical of it at times, especially when they take the way they take Gwangi out of the Forbidden Valley in the latter half of the movie.
Right.
But then it's got this very like old school American attitude. How charmed Tuck
Yeah.
is by the hustle of this kid.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think
Yeah.
it's just an observation of how, Americans, Westerners, whatever, have decided, okay, we, the whole manifest destiny thing and the whole bit of we've decided we're going to move into land and then we're going to make it ours and we're going to develop it. It's just it's I don't even know if it's judging that. I think it's just observing it. Like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
this is our property. Like they kidnapped this poor dinosaur. They're like, this is our property, all of ours. We all get to enjoy it. Like, wait a minute, how did you make that leap?
And
You
and
grabbed the
similarly,
thing.
the kid's a hustler, and people are just like, well, that's just what it's like if you're an
Yeah,
orphan
good
and
job,
it's
right?
Mexico,
You
and
need to make money somehow.
he's and here's what's funny is this movie very rapidly introduces our gang, which is handsome dude, and then the boss woman that runs the circus who is beautiful, and then the
Although not believable at all as an American.
you didn't believe her as an executive? I mean,
I
don't
believe
know.
her as an executive, not an American. It seems
Oh, no.
like
No, the funny thing is, her accent was already so thick. Gila Golan's accent was so thick already that she dubbed her with somebody else who sounds Italian to my ear. It appears that like Daniela Bianchi or somebody has dubbed her, which is the weirdest thing in the
Why?
world.
Now that you mention that, why would that be the dub voice? If you're gonna go
I don't
with,
know.
like, if you're gonna say she's American, we should get that. Like,
She's supposed to be American? I didn't
don't
know
know.
that.
Oh, I
She
don't know.
seemed.
I mean, T.J. Breckenridge. It doesn't exactly sound European.
I guess you're
European,
right.
but,
Yeah.
but it could be a
okay.
stage. It could be a stage name.
Yeah, I didn't get the impression that she was supposed to be American at all. I thought she was definitely Mexican, like
She
whatever
really
whatever
sound-
country they're from.
She sounded Italian to
somewhere in
me,
South America.
But and then really quickly, who else do we have? We got some random people who help her in the circus, and then you've got you've got the professor. And the funny thing is, this is very, very, very similar to what's the one with the duck? That was that's is that the Lost World? No. Oh gosh.
You're
I'm
thinking
sorry.
of Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Journey to the Center of the Earth. And in that one, they took this cast and they made it into a Filmation commercial. And I'm telling you, they could have done that here too. You easily could have made a whole season with these guys, with the professor and the beautiful boss and handsome James Franciscus and Short Round and the little horse, and they would just run around and have center of the earth kind of adventures. I would watch that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it does fit the Filmation mold. Hands
Yes.
down.
Absolutely.
You even got a cute little
Well,
creature. Yeah.
Yeah, they got the horse.
That's because like these sort of like adventure stories, they're all rooted in Pulp Fiction, which are filled with these kind of characters. I mean,
Yes.
with the professor and the kid's sidekick and all that stuff. It's all super pulpy.
Yes. And the funny thing is, I'm just there. I'm total. That's the crazy thing is, I guess I must be like reverting as I age, because I no longer have a real problem with it. I'm like, sure, down with it. Great. This is the cast. That's the kid sidekick, and here's the hero, and there's the girl. It's fine. This is fine.
Or perhaps you just like to have fun.
Yes.
And some
That's very
people
possible.
lose sight of that, and that makes me sad. But
I mean,
you should do
if you were to do it
like
today.
what you like. But some people, I think, I don't know. To me, being an adult doesn't mean leaving all that behind. But
Right.
that's just me.
In other words, because you can spot the sequence and because you can spot the pattern, doesn't mean that you go, I spotted the pattern, therefore it sucks. It just means you
Right.
spotted the pattern.
I tell
Yeah.
people this, the analogy I always use is sometimes you want a fancy meal.
Yeah.
And sometimes you want to just have a good burger or a decent pizza.
Yes.
And it tastes good. And maybe it's a little on the junky side, or maybe it's nothing super special, but there's a comfort to it and a wholesomeness to it that you enjoy. And sometimes that's just it. And your burger doesn't have to have truffle oil, and it doesn't have to have, your pizza doesn't have to have some kind of special seasoning or, artichoke hearts or whatever Whatever you think of as whatever makes things fancy.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't have to have that. And sometimes you want that. And I think the variety is the spice of life. But to me, when you're too overwhelmed with, oh, I can't possibly eat this or experience that, I don't know. I don't know how to think any differently. But I do still like those things, and I like things that are fun.
Yeah.
And it makes me a little sad when I see somebody who just really has left all of that behind. Or maybe that's them and they never had it, and that's okay too. But
Well, you know what I would be fine with is I don't disagree at all with the notion that we can take stock characters like this, because everybody enjoys the idea of romance and adventure. We can take stock characters like this and we can certainly open them up to more casting than we've done in the past.
oh, absolutely.
Straight relationships can be gay relationships or polyamorous relationships. White stock leads can become any ethnicity, and at least this one, the boss of the circus is a female, and nobody seems to have a problem with her being the boss. But I don't have a problem with taking these stock things and screwing around with the diversity. I'm just saying I love the idea of a simple plot. I'm
Absolutely.
just down with that.
Yeah,
So
nobody's saying that you shouldn't expand and make things better.
yeah,
Like, I don't think anybody would argue that we can't be more nuanced and
Right.
take things in different directions. But I think that everything doesn't have to be that, I guess, again, variety is the spice of life.
Yeah.
You can have simple good things, and you can have really meaty subject matter that really takes something somewhere.
I mean, what
And
the hell? Let's say you were to we're a far field, but let's say you
Sure,
were to do a meaty meditation of the Valley of Gwangi. That would not be an interesting film. I mean, it might be an interesting skit, or an interesting sketch on like college humor or something, to just discuss the ethics of keeping a horse that is the size of a cat. But
Sure.
but that's not why. I've seen people say, I'm going to mix up the genre and write a version of this, and basically that's great. You will enjoy it and your friends will enjoy it and everybody else will just ignore it. Okay, so
Oh, I mean, that's kind of what I've done.
There you go.
but yours are still adventures. I mean, in other words, when I read a Halloween Man story, the stories are recognizably adventures. You might approach a concept like, what is the deal with shaming people on the internet, or what is the deal with what happens when somebody decides to shoot up a school. But your whole comic is not two people sitting around talking about the issues. It's an adventure that then also manages to discuss it. That's
Well,
pretty
I mean,
cool.
specifically the one that the whole reason why we're doing this retrospective is specifically kind of
You did one of
this.
these.
Yeah, I did. Let's go to a lost world with dinosaurs.
I want to
Like,
hear all about it after
we'll save it at the end.
after we
I get it.
fumble
Yeah.
our way through the plot, because this is not a very long plot. Okay, so basically the Romani brought back a little horse. They handed it over to the circus because one of the Romani guys is working in the circus and he's in love with TJ, and so he's jealous of James Franciscus. And long story short, the professor who we've met wants to tells the Romani where the little horse is so that they'll steal it back, try to return it to the valley, and now they're all going to try to go into the valley to either bring that horse back or bring more. And the people from the rodeo think they can get more dinosaurs.
Well, they don't know they're
that's the plot.
They don't know that
Yeah, they
they're
just want
dinosaurs.
more horses.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
they
they
just
true.
want
want more
the little
little
bitty
horses.
horses.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think if they knew there were dinosaurs, they probably would have first of all made sure that they had guns with real bullets in them.
Yes.
Second,
I don't know. They don't seem like they really were that competent.
Can I?
No.
But before they go to the valley, we do get to see the rodeo doing its show, which is a big Wild West Cowboys versus Indians show, where they just
Part of the
it's a stunt show where they're shooting.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
setting
Part of what would no longer, like, you wouldn't do that anymore unless they
I
were really
guess
bad
not.
guys,
I don't know.
and you wouldn't do you wouldn't, and you wouldn't
Something
do
tells me
the
that you might see this show today, depending on where you go. Like, for instance, if you go to Casa Bonita in Denver, Colorado, they are still doing wild Indian jokes, and an Indian fights a cowboy over a cliff and they fall into the water like 30 feet below. And I am not making this up. it's still
It's
it's like
problematic.
it's 1972 in there. I mean, it's the
Add some
weirdest
dinosaurs to this. Now you got to show. Then you got to
But
see.
these sort of it is important to note that these sort of Wild West shows were a real thing.
Yeah,
course.
Like
Absolutely.
this isn't something that they made up for this movie. Like there
that's a good
were
point.
at this point in history, there were touring Wild West shows, and in fact, Tuck is supposed to be working for Buffalo Bill, a real
Yeah.
person who did have a Wild West show. So
Yeah, he wants to
while
buy one of the animals to bring it back
he
and
wants
sell
to
it to
buy this
Buffalo Bill.
horse that has been trained to dive into a pool of water, but
Yes.
the it is Julie is absolutely right in saying that a lot of this stuff is problematic and kind of casually racist at this, to say the least, but it is historically accurate.
Hmm.
What would you do if you were making this movie today and you wanted them to have a Wild West show? Can you put can you hang a lampshade on it by having a Wild West show kind of like they would have in the past, but have the characters go, boy, this is not what it was really like on the. I mean, what do you do?
They did that, just that. The Wolfman character in Penny Dreadful works for a Wild West show in season 1. They basically did what you just described.
Interesting. I mean, it's clearly, in the end, it's just a stunt show, just like you would go see at Universal Studios. It just has cowboys and Indians. By the way, the stunt people here they earn my respect. I mean, I saw like one actor, he gets shot, supposedly, he falls down, and he lays on the ground while all of these horses run around him. And these.
Well, one guy gets a horse rolled over him.
Golly, it's
And
amazing.
he can't have been just, oh, I'm completely okay.
I have no idea how this stuff works. I mean, I don't know how you train a horse to fall over. I don't know how you train a stunt man to fall under a horse. I don't know how any of this works. And it looks scary to me, but they have my utmost respect. That's some exciting stuff. So yes. Anyway, into the valley they go. Drew, as you mentioned, dinosaurs that are still alive sometime around the turn of the 20th century are always to be found on uncharted islands or lost valleys. And I love the idea that you can have a lost valley. That is really
This
cool.
movie basically uses the same justification for the prehistoric animals that the Lost World does, is that they are cut off, like it's the perfect environment for evolution to stagnate. And
Yeah.
never mind that the dinosaurs they have interacting here don't make a lot of sense having them together, because like some of them are from different parts of the world than Mexico.
Who knows, man? Gwangi might have been the Vegas dinosaur. Like what happens in Gwangi stays in Gwangi. You go there, they got trapped for whatever reason. They were on vacation at the time.
Oh, I love this notion.
And then there's a pterodactyl and all these various, these are the children, the ancestors of the great party animals of the past.
Yes. And they've just kept and they've just stayed there. This valley is big enough for there to be all of these races of dinosaurs. We don't see that many. We see a pterodactyl. We see a little running, kind of cute little critter that they try to catch.
Oh, the Gallimimus.
He's fun. He makes none of the animals, even the animals that we know in our everyday terrestrial existence, make any noises that are recognizable as noises that actual animals would make. But he makes fun mewling kind of sounds while they hunt after him.
But you mentioned that we don't see that many dinosaurs, Jason. Even seeing 3 dinosaurs would still be pretty amazing, considering
especially from completely different eras. Yeah. No, it's that we're actually closer, and I know that's not called T-Rex in this movie because it's smaller, but we're actually closer in time to the T-Rex than the T-Rex is to the Stegosaurus.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. That is really
because the Stegosaurus is 150 million years ago, and the T-Rex is 70 million years, 22, something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
That is.
Well,
This
that's
is
that's
not
no
a.
fun.
This is not a T. I'm going to be this guy a lot.
I
That guy
know.
a lot
Please.
during this
I know it's not a
retrospective.
T-Rex, but
So
it
what
looks
is
like
it?
one.
It is an Alice. It is an
Allosaurus. Yep.
Oh, like Alice, like Alice
yeah.
in Land of the Lost.
But it's because it's smaller than a T-Rex.
Well,
And yet-
it's a completely different. They're both theropod dinosaur. God, I'm such a nerd.
I mean, that's why we're having this discussion, right?
They're both predatory theropod dinosaurs, and I know they look the same, but their builds are very different. T-Rex is a lot bigger. The way not that they go into that in the movie, that the way they kill is allegedly very different. And although this movie's not interested in any of that, so I won't go into the science stuff too much. But
Well, no, feel free.
Three
and I have a question about it.
three fingers, not two. And Allosaurus. Although this movie does greatly, in my impression, overestimate the ability of a human being to fight an Allosaurus. Because we would a human being, no matter how well armed, would probably be toast.
And yet, go ahead, Drew.
What? No. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, and yet, for all our talk of evolution, we still have men like Tuck Kirby.
Yes.
They still exist and are not extinct at all.
I think it's funny how Tuck Kirby just orders people around. Like when they're on the expedition, he's like, Bean, go get some water. And I mean, like, why? He first of all, they think he's a horse thief. And second of all, he like quit like 2 years ago and has come back. Why, except for being the tall white man, is he ordering everybody around? Like it is really crazy.
Just answered your own question.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. And they hate him. And he's a jerk to TJ.
Right. But suddenly they're out on the trail and he's like, go get some water. Like
Fight that.
And if you're
fight that
kid,
Allosaurus.
in this day and age, in the 60s and the 50s, you're like, well, yeah, he's the lead. He's the lead. He's the one who looks like the lead. That's how powerful Hollywood
Right.
is.
He's got
Yeah.
His hat is white. Therefore, ta-da.
Isn't that interesting? That those concepts just burn into us like acid, and they etch us, and we walk around with them. Like, look around the room. Who do you think is the boss? Scary, isn't it? That's like super scary, because it means that somebody like TJ has all this work to do just for somebody to go, hey, look at me and not at him when we're in the same room. That's I don't know.
My vote for boss is still the dinosaurs, but but they're not in the boardroom, so whatever.
So we get to see since we're in the Lost World here, we get to see some King Kong style, just monster on monster action, where Allosaurus goes up against the Stegosaurus, however you say it.
You're talking about the Steratosaurus.
The one with all the
that's not a god. I'm a nerd. That's not a Stegosaurus. Stegosaurus is the one with the spikes on its tail and all the plates on its back.
Right.
Like,
okay.
This is actually a relative of Triceratops.
Triceratops.
Right. Well, that was my thought. To me, it looked like
I'm sorry. I'm the
Triceratops.
one who said it wrong. I was thinking of a different. I don't know.
So here's my question. Allosaurus fights it by biting it mainly on the back. Is this? I can't believe I'm asking this question. Is this is this like how large animals fight? Is this how animals? I mean, like where this looks real enough to me. But
this is a trope of first of all, this is a trope of dinosaur movies that if dinosaurs get around each other, that they would immediately just have to fight.
Like Marvel superheroes, of course.
Yeah, and okay, it's awesome thing versus awesome thing. We all want that. But if you look at predatory animals in real life, they're not in constant kill mode like Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. There's a scene in Jurassic Park 3 where I always refer to this. This is like exemplifies this trope where the human characters happen upon a T-Rex eating another dinosaur, and the T-Rex immediately abandons the food that it has in front of them to go chase the dinky ass humans, which would barely
Yes.
be a meal to it. And that's just not the way predatory animals act. Predatory animals, once they have food, they have food.
Right.
And even a very powerful predator like Allosaurus isn't going to immediately jump on something that's like an equally powerful and aggressive herbivore like this. But that sounds like I'm being critical. But you watch these movies, you want to see dinosaurs fight, so you just
Yeah.
kind of accept the trope. Is this how they think Allosaurus killed its prey? Possibly in the 60s, but now, first of all, Allosaurus had a relatively weak jaw compared to a lot of other predatory theropod dinosaurs. So they think it might have actually been an ambush predator and probably would have stuck to killing things a lot smaller than it, or a pack hunter. But I don't think Ray Harryhausen was interested in any of that anyway. Like, I think he was like, okay, we're gonna have two dinosaurs and they're gonna clobber each other and it's gonna be great. Like I very, very seriously doubt that they consulted any paleontologists for this movie. I don't think this movie's not interested in being educational material, and that's okay. These kind of movies got a lot of people into dinosaurs. I dare say that we probably would not have a lot of paleontologists if it wasn't for movies like this, because I think anybody who is into monsters and horror and sci-fi and fantasy and all that stuff probably goes through a dinosaur phase, because dinosaurs are essentially monsters that were real. And then some of them, you either go one of two ways. You grow up to be like a super geek, like all of us doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Or you go even geekier and you go and become a scientist. So I think these movies scientifically inaccuracies, I don't fault them that, because I think that movies like these do probably help shape a lot of future scientists.
I was wondering about that. I mean, Joy and I were talking about, whether people watch movies like this and go, I want to be a paleontologist like that guy, because I can completely imagine that.
Absolutely.
I totally wanted to be a paleontologist for a time as a kid. I just, I just didn't stick with it, but there's a lot of kids, I'm sure, no doubt, do.
I wanted to be a writer because of writers I saw in the movies. Julia, you wanted to be an attorney because of an attorney you saw in the movies. This is like super duper common, and it's hard to admit, because nobody you sit down for an interview at a job and they go, well, what made you want to be this, and you go, well, Valley of Gwangi, but I think for all of us there's usually a piece of art that first sets us off.
Right. I think I think that's entirely possible, especially if you grew up in Texas, because we have several. I mean, in kindergarten and earlier in my life, we went to all these dinosaur parks in the hill country. It's all over. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So okay, so they encounter a number of. Go ahead.
One more thing before we get away from the science stuff, because I will be upset if I don't bring this up. One other thing about Allosaurus that they think about the way it may have killed its prey, because it did have much longer forearms than a T-Rex. They do also think that it might have actually grasped small animals and bit into them several times.
Really?
They also think it might have been able to unhinge its jaw like a snake.
Whoa.
So there's a lot of crazy things about Allosaurus that this movie is not even remotely interested in, and that's fine. Because we're talking about it, I wanted to put it out there.
Sometimes it would sneak into other dinosaurs' houses and hide behind the couch.
Yes.
Very surprising, the Allosaurus. Little known fact as well. Sorry, Drew.
They're living.
It's okay.
They're living next door to Alice.
I'm gonna be just fair warning. I'm going to be doing this a lot over the next few weeks.
No, I think it's fabulous.
I'm totally down with crazy dinosaur trivia.
Yeah,
or
please.
Facts as it stands. But yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool if we could make like bubblegum cards of this movie and it could have like fun dinosaur facts on the back? I would love that.
I'm down with
like
that.
The Gwangi appears to be biting the back of this whatever the hell this triceratops ancestor is, and then on the back, fun fact, unlikely.
If it makes you feel any better, they do think that T-Rex killed ceratopsians possibly in a similar manner, also by grabbing hold of that big fin and literally ripping their heads off.
Golly.
So, yeah, well, I'll save a lot of the T-Rex talk for when we do Jurassic Park.
Yeah. We're a long way from that too. That's what's funny is you can totally kind of buy into the animation here, which we should take a moment to talk about.
Well, I mean, I think that's the important thing when you're watching a movie like this. It isn't so much how scientifically accurate they are, because first of all, like the way we view dinosaurs is constantly in flux, because it's not like it's a tiger and you can go down to the zoo and observe them. It's all conjecture, it's all theory. So like it's constantly being thrown around. So I think when you're doing a dinosaur movie, it's that they feel like a believable animal, which these do.
I'm thinking about the pterodactyl attack on the boy and Carlos, the Romani guy who is jealous of our hero, ends up taking on the pterodactyl one-on-one. And that's a good opportunity just to talk about the animation. Now, this is literally stop motion animation. Have you guys seen pictures of Ray Harryhausen standing over a table with his figures for this? Because it just blows my mind when I'm seeing it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's, you talk about things like animation like this, and I think I talked to you about some of the animated stuff I had seen when I was a kid with the Fisher-Price, their answer to kind of Viewmaster, where you could see animation frame by frame. Definitely. Although once you really start to do stop motion animation, you kind of go one of two ways. You're like, I'm into this, or holy cow, this takes forever.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is what I really want to do. There's an immediacy to CG that led me to that. But
yeah.
I mean, you're still moving armatures and all of that just digitally in CG. So there's an aspect of that that's just more immediate.
It seems like it would take just forever.
Although I do still highly recommend the Phil Tippett documentary that I saw, Fantastic Fest, which they go into a lot of the stop motion stuff. They also go into Jurassic Park, where they had a hybrid CG/rig that they would let the animators move. That's fascinating and amazing. And in that, they had some stuff that they had to do where they were doing some stuff. I think it was with RoboCop 2, where they couldn't release it for a long time. And the guy actually got to use, like, one of the creators, one of the filmmakers got to actually do a sequence with the stop motion armature. I was a little bit jealous, and also really happy somebody got to do that.
What is your favorite, if we had to guess, because we've done a lot of Harryhausen movies, what is your favorite Harryhausen animated character? Because we have a bunch of dinosaurs in this one, but what's your favorite?
The skeletons are still pretty amazing in Jason the Argonauts.
Yeah.
And those are actually because of the way they were created, those are actually ones that they still kept, because a lot of the foam rubber stuff goes away, but those were I forgot, it was like gauze and stuff like that, but it was also in paraffin, if I remember, or some kind of substance like that.
Yeah.
So they were actually preserved way better than a lot of other Harryhausen creatures. So
I love the metal
I just like
guy.
the way that they interact. The interaction in that scene is just amazing. But I don't know,
the Titan of Colossus. That was him. Who's the big metal guy in Jason and the Argonauts? I think that's
Talos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talos, yeah.
And Medusa.
Yes.
Medusa is amazing. Medusa from Clash of the Titans is astonishing.
Absolutely.
But here, this one, you're supposed to just believe it. Like, they've gone through a mountain and they've encountered an Allosaurus. And it works for me. It works just fine. They're like, holy mackerel, that thing's going to eat us. I love it. it's Carlos jumps on a pterodactyl and has to, and there's two versions of the pterodactyl. There's the distant one, which is the
purple.
the color matching is weird. I have no explanation for that because it's not, it leads me to wonder, were they aware of the colors that these things were looking like on the film? Because you always kind of wonder, do they know what these are going to look like? I can't explain that at all. But yeah, there's the distant animated character that Carlos is fighting with, and then there's the close up, which is a puppet. And I love that whole thing. It's violent too. You feel bad that he's killing this pterodactyl. This is another instance, by the way, where these monsters are very dangerous, and it's not their fault really that they've been dragged in amongst humans. But you can't
I mean, he does pick up the little kid and
you can't coddle yourself with the notion that you could afford to have a pterodactyl or an Allosaurus just around, because they're it's not a nuclear bomb's fault that it's dangerous, but it's dangerous, and yes, they probably shouldn't have gone to get this animal in the first place. Can somebody remind me, how do they manage to? I don't remember how they managed to capture this animal. How do they capture the Allosaurus?
Oh man, like they have the
they
whole business.
lasso it a bunch.
Yeah, they lassoed a bunch, but how does it get knocked out? Like, how do they?
Yeah,
manage
why is
to-
it unconscious?
When it's coming back through the valley and it breaks out and then
yes.
after it's already taken care of Carlos.
Right. Yes,
they
it
get
gets knocked out by the
shrift
It gets knocked out by the rocks. Yes,
right.
So
It's a bad idea to capture.
So it's
the
while it's
dinosaur.
unconscious, they tie it up and they bring it back.
Yeah,
Now
that was not well thought out, honestly.
Well, and then this thing goes fast now, because now they're like, all right, we're gonna put it in a big cage. TJ's like, I did want to settle down at a ranch with James Franciscus, but now I'm going to make $1 billion showing this creature behind a big cage, and all of this gets disrupted when in the bullfighting ring, the gypsy woman, the Romani woman sends her helper to go and, I don't know, I guess sneak the Allosaurus out the back, and then Julia, can you said that this was a real surprise, and I think it is rather delightful.
It made me laugh out loud. They're like, okay, so this part, okay. Oh my God, so many things. So they have put this, somehow they've managed to build a big cage around the dinosaur and the Allosaurus, and they have a big tent around it, and they've got this big circus at this awesome outdoor arena theater thingy, and they've got this band that's playing music, and while they're hyping it up, they've got an elephant out there. The little person has decided, I guess, to free the thing. I was unclear about exactly why.
They're going to free it to get it back to Gwangi, or at least prove that.
Yes.
He's taking apart the cage.
Yes.
And then you hear, as we look back outside the tent, you hear him scream, and the guy, who's the show, what do you call him, the ringmaster, basically, he says, okay, lift the tent, and they lift the tent. The dinosaur has, I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but it was just really funny. The dinosaur has a little person in his mouth, and he's just like, ah.
Rum. Yeah. The dinosaur is just going nom nom nom.
Something so funny about it, because it didn't strike me as particularly violent, because it's clearly like an animated person who's just kind of waving its arms. I don't know. That just made me laugh. I should not have made me laugh, but it totally made me laugh. And then, so of course, all the people start freaking out, because not only is he eating this person, but he's also clearly busting out of the cage, because the cage has been loosened for him. So everybody starts running away, except the band's going to keep playing, because nothing's going to stop that band from playing. Oh my gosh. So thankfully, the elephant does hold him up for a little while before he decides to start killing more humans. But yeah, I feel like they didn't think the whole thing through, really, when they brought it.
You mean the plan was bad?
Yeah,
The plan to make money off the Allosaurus?
A little bit bad.
I think this is why people think of this movie as being like Kong, though, because it is the last act of this movie is like, if you swap out Allosaurus for Big Gorilla, the ends are very much the same. I mean, okay, yes, Kong is less likely to eat people for whatever reason than Gwangi is, but this is essentially the end of King Kong. But
Yes.
At the same time, gotta love that fight between Gwangi and the elephant.
Oh,
man,
yeah,
that
yeah,
bums
yeah.
me out.
Yeah.
Bums me out when he kills the elephant. It bums me out when he actually kills the other dinosaur too. But
Sure.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm bummed out not by that. I was a little bit bummed out by that. I'm bummed out by the fact that they do grab this creature and bring him in to their village, and then of course, just like with King Kong, he's gonna have to die because otherwise he's gonna kill everybody. So he dies in this cathedral that burns down. It looks like it was actually very reminiscent of the Notre Dame fire because it looked a lot like Notre Dame. The cathedral's burning down. The poor dinosaur is dying in the thing, and everybody's just standing there watching. And these buildings are really they're share walls. I'm thinking, shouldn't somebody be trying to put the fire out before the whole village burns down? Not let's let alone the fact that they don't care about their cathedral apparently, but like really the whole village is about to burn down. So that's also a bummer. But the whole end really just made me sad because I was like, this guy should not be here. He was like, and any other film, they would have been like trying to preserve him for scientific purposes, but here they're just like, no, we just want to make money off showing him.
I
And
think
oh well, now we gotta
that
kill him.
I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier is like this part feels like it's being critical of their capitalist idea.
Well-
Like let's exploit this animal. Although there's also this weird, you're bringing up the cathedral, which that whole sequence is from a effects standpoint is terrific, but there's this weird religious undertone to that where throughout the whole movie they effectively treat Gwangi like he's the devil, and suddenly he's in this church and there's all these flames, and it does feel very devilish. And I'm assuming that was intentional, but I don't really know what kind of message it's trying to send.
Well, also there's, on the capitalism side, I mean, Tuck even has a turn, which is a weird turn where he starts to get disgusted that TJ has changed so much.
Yes. Because now
Which is
Tuck
what
wants
They
to
kind of
settle down.
switch places.
Yeah. And that's kind of interesting. It adds a little bit of nuance to it. I mean, as far as the church burning goes, they kind of help it along, and then once it goes full bore, everybody's like, well, I guess that gets rid of our dinosaur problem. I mean,
Right.
the town's probably going to burn down, but maybe we'll get some good dinosaur burgers out of this afterwards.
Although,
Go ahead.
does it take care of their dinosaur problem? The question I always have about these Lost World genre things is what's keeping more people, now that they know that there are living dinosaurs, what's keeping more people from trying to find the Forbidden Valley?
They're going to go the
And-
following afternoon. You're absolutely right. There's going to be Return to the
Well,
Valley of Gwangi. Yeah,
They only
absolutely.
have so many churches to dispatch.
Right. They're
Each
going to
town
go
has a
get another
church. You don't
little
want
horse.
to dispatch too many
And
dinosaurs.
there's
in your
no
churches.
doubt more Gwangis running
Yes.
around, because like where there's one Allosaurus, there has to be at least another one. There has to be a mating couple.
Yes.
Again, I'm probably thinking too hard about this.
No, but that's actually the line in the movie. That's the hilarious thing. You're saying exactly what the guy said. He goes, "Don't you see? Where there is one Eohippus, there must be others." And and then he goes on. He goes, "There has to be at least a mom and a dad, so that there could be lots of them." And that's at the very least. So yeah, so yes, if they had decided, they could have made another sequel the following year, Return to the Valley of Gwangi,
Well,
where
I mean,
Telly
I think-
Savalas is going to go get some dinosaurs.
I think that's the eternal question, right? Do you as a scientist look at this and go, maybe maybe let's not do this again where the Gwangi eats a bunch of people.
Right.
Or do you go, well, with science, I bet I could catch it better next time.
Well, to me, those are the same things, right? You could go,
Yeah.
I bet we could do it, right?
In fairness to the scientist character, Professor Bromley, he does not want to put Gwangi on display. He was trying to get it purely, he tries to talk them out of it. They're like,
Right.
no. You can hang out with our circus and study it while we
Yeah.
travel. Lord knows how they were, because they talk about where they're taking him, like New York, London, and I forget a few other major cities. I'm like, good God, how are they planning on transporting that thing around?
Yeah. I don't know. They're probably going to have to develop its own carriage, some big ass thing that does nothing but carry the dinosaur. It's a fun idea. We've seen some of the best innovations in the movies where they just think about like how the heck do you carry King Kong? There was the one where they carry King Kong by means of a whole bunch of gigantic helium balloons, and then there was one where they had like a bunch of big helicopters, but they can't do that here. Here they really just need a train car that they can put this dinosaur on. Boy, oh boy. Yes, this is a real cathedral, Julia. This is Cuenca Cathedral in Cuenca, Spain, and
they burned it down for the movie.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the other thing. I love the sets in this thing. I love the model cathedral they burn. I love the Tony, you were talking about when the rocks fall, and I love that whole thing where there's like 3 levels that they're running around on in the valley. There's a really good presentation of geometry in the sets, and I like that stuff a lot. So that was pretty cool. And it ends in fire. So that brings us to the end. So I guess, is there a topic that we didn't hit on, Drew? Is there anything that you would like to circle back around to as far as
Oh
Valley of Gwangi?
man, Diablo the Eohippus is pretty cool, although you kind of forget about him once there's dinosaurs. I
Yeah,
think
I love him.
yeah.
Th-
I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm endlessly fascinated by this weird movie. So there probably is stuff that like the moment we're done talking about it that I will go, oh man, but we're gonna be talking about dinosaurs for weeks. So if
Sure.
something comes up to me about Gwangi, I will just circle back to it next week.
Isn't it funny that in a world where we have a character in comics called Devil Dinosaur, that the little tiny cute one is called Diablo, and the gigantic terrifying monster is called Gwangi?
Yes, yeah, which is cute. Gwangi could easily be the name of an Ewok or something. I grew up with Land of the Lost, right, which is only a couple years after this movie, and that the main creature that people were afraid of in that one was also an Allosaurus. I don't remember anybody talking about Tyrannosaurus Rex's Tyrannosauri Rex until years later.
Tyrannosauroids.
All right.
There was a Tyrannosaurus Rex on Land of the Lost, though. It was Grumpy.
Yes. Thank you for mentioning that. Yes. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So anyway, and that, by the way, how do you like that? They're doing stop motion animation for a weekly show. And that's good, bad, or indifferent. That's a heck of a commitment to do. That's pretty amazing. So yes. That brings us to the end of Valley of Gwangi. We don't actually know what happens to the circus after this. We don't know if she goes, damn it, we got to go get our little horse.
Lawsuits and imprisonment. I'm thinking there's a jail that holds several of these people.
I think maybe Tuck and TJ are going to have to make it back over the border and go start another business in the United
They're
States.
definitely, if they don't leave now, they're going to end up in that jail because they're partially responsible for families getting killed as well as
good point.
A whole cathedral getting burned down.
Let's get our final thoughts on the Valley of Gwangi, which, boy, this movie just makes me happy to think about. So we started with Drew, and Drew, I hope you think this is a good way to kick off our set of discussions of dinosaur movies. What are your final thoughts on the Valley of Gwangi?
I'm just happy that I finally managed to con y'all into talking about this movie because I truly love this movie. I said I watched it just last night. I could watch it again right now. Talking about it just kind of makes me want to go back and watch it. I don't know why I love this one above all the other Ray Harryhausen movies because he certainly has made a lot of really great genre movies with a lot of really great monsters, but this one just does it for me. I think this is a terrific start to our discussion of dinosaurs. I'm just hoping that y'all don't want to strangle me when I continuously rattle off dinosaur factoids over the
I think it's
next
fabulous. No, I think that'll be great.
weeks.
Fantastic. Julia, final thoughts, The Valley of Gwangi.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you guys enjoy it. I don't have just a lot to say really. Like I said, I have a hard time relating to it just because it's not really my style. But trying to think if there's anything that nobody said that I wanted to make sure was it. I did like the sets. I think it's really beautiful. I love the. There was a scene when we get to see a little flamenco dancing that's really beautiful. Some of the Spanish flavor of everything is is really neat.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about the flamenco stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah. Just I don't even know why they say it's South America because it's clear Central or whatever south of the border because it's clearly Spain. I mean, there's all this stuff with the bullfighting and whatever, right? Am I making that up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
I'm like,
Yeah. There's bullfighting where Carlos has to go save the kid as he
right.
jumps in there to.
Yeah, so there's all the
Yeah.
bullfighting stuff. There's flamenco. There's beautiful, mountains, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I think if they would just have made it in Spain, it would have made so much more sense. But so and the village is really neat, and some of the bits about the villagers and all that. So I think there's some neat and atmospheric stuff that we didn't really touch on. But certainly the animation is remarkable, and it's very fun to watch that part. So like I say, I'm glad we watched it. It's not my favorite thing that we've watched, but it's also not my least favorite. It's just kind of one of those things that I think you really will like if you enjoy westerns and you enjoy dinosaurs and you enjoy dynamation.
Yes.
As it's called here, stop motion animation. So for sure, I see why Drew loves it so much.
Wonderful. Tony, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I still really dig it. Although hearing all of that makes me also want to make a stop motion flamenco dancing Allosaurus,
Right?
which would be amazing. Take a lot of time and skill. Anyway, I really, really enjoy the movie. I'm a huge Harryhausen fan, so I'm really digging that we're doing this. It's not my favorite Harryhausen movie. I prefer the more like fantasy. Like I like Sinbad. I like Jason and the Argonauts. But growing up around here and going to dinosaur parks and such, I'm also huge into that. So I'm happy we're doing this.
When you come back to Colorado, we need to take you to there's some dinosaur fossils here that are in the mountains. Pretty cool.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down with that.
Thank you very, very much. And my final thoughts were I thought this was a delightful movie, and I just really enjoy it. And like I said, it spun my imagination off into just imagining an ongoing filmation cartoon series with these main characters, including their little miniature horse. I just love that concept that they would be running around the valley with an Eohippus.
That randomly comes with its own soundtrack of like calliope music or whatever that
Yes.
instrument is.
like Bernie Casey and I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Right.
Yes. All right.
I mean, it does have
fantastic.
all of the tropes that fit exactly at Filmation. And in
Yes.
fact, what would be amazing is they can reuse all the Filmation stuff they use with all the horses and everything,
Oh, absolutely.
which was the mandate for Filmation. So, yeah, I am also surprised that didn't happen.
Yes. We could make fake art and go, oh, look, I discovered on YouTube some episodes
The
of
lost
this
tapes. Mm-hmm.
for a show that doesn't exist. I love that.
I mean, that's what they did with with the Blair Witch Project and all those kind of things. It's
That's
just
true.
found footage. You can totally do that with this.
There's been plenty of shows where there's a completely fake lost, because the fact is, if I walked in this morning and go, get this, I had no idea, but Peter Lorre had a short run horror anthology series in the early 1970s that ran on the BBC and Canadian TV and never made it over here. And here's some episodes of it. Who would not believe that? It's I just made that up right now, but there's the world is wide. It's impossible.
Jimmy
to know
Fallon
every
does
minute.
a joke version of that where when he has guests on, he says, "Oh gosh, we did this show together. We did this commercial together." And they'll do clips.
Ah.
It's really, really. It can
See,
be funny.
exactly.
and it can be really stupid sometimes, as it was with Ewan McGregor this week. But yes, it's very entertaining.
Perfect. All right. Let's get our endorsement. This is where we just tell people the kind of stuff that we have been listening to or reading or watching or what we want people to go look up as soon as they're done with this show. We'll start with Mr. Drew once again. And Drew, why don't you first? I think you wanted to tell us about the story that you're doing that's very similar to this.
Well, yeah, you are correct. And I'm sure some of the people who follow us on Facebook has seen some of the artwork and photographs and various things from the project that I have posted. I am doing a crowdfund on Indiegogo for the first Halloween Man story arc of 2020, and the first story arc that is going to be leading into the year that's going to be our 20th anniversary. So we're trying to make it a big deal. And I've always wanted to do a story in this vein because I love dinosaurs and I love dinosaur movies and I love The Lost World and King Kong and that whole genre. And so the story it's a two-parter. It's called The Valentine's Day That Time Forgot, and it's structured as a date that goes very badly. Which leads to Lucy and Solomon going to a lost plateau filled with dinosaurs and also running afoul of some vampires, because why not?
Yeah.
And if that were not enough, the whole thing has an Elvis theme, because I again, why not just be all the things at once, just like
I agree.
Valley of Gwangi.
I love it.
Thank you. Grant Morrison is one of my favorite writers, and one of his philosophies of writing is, if you have ideas, don't hold on to them, just start using them. So I literally threw every idea that I've ever had about a dinosaur story into this one story. And I mean, like, you want to find out what killed the dinosaurs? We have our crazy version of that. You want to see well, I'm just going to say it, 2 words: vampire dinosaurs.
Yes.
We have that. So and on top of that, this is a story that's going to have lasting effects on Halloween Man as going forward. It's not just going to be something that we do and it doesn't have any ramifications. It actually is going to have a lot of ramifications. And I know a lot of people read Halloween Man on Comixology, specifically people who listen to this podcast. I'm asking you, please pre-order both parts through the Indiegogo. Don't just wait until it comes out on Comixology, because this helps me out a lot more. And also, even if I think I said this a little bit last week, even if you're not in the comic books, but you just enjoy listening to me yammer on the show, you can back for as low as $1. And if a lot of people back for $1, that adds up. Like, literally everything backs, it adds up to our goal, even though our goal is pretty modest by crowdfund standards. The artwork is coming along really great. I'm working with an Austin local artist named Jason Wilson, who is doing a dynamite job, and we've really enjoyed designing all the creatures and everything like that. But we also did a really fun photo shoot with Jamie, who is on the show sometimes, who's also my wife, dressed as the Lucy character, and we went out to a dinosaur park nearby Austin in Cedar Creek, Texas, and they were kind enough to let us shoot with some of their dinosaur statues.
I love the shot of her looking through the binoculars. So cute. There's some really neat ones.
Thank you. So if that sounds like your idea of a good time and you just want to support independent art and everything, again, I've posted the link a bunch of times on the Facebook group. You can find it if you search Halloween Man on Indiegogo, or Valentine's Day That Time Forgot on Indiegogo. But I really, really, really need everybody's support to make this happen. We're living and a time period where, you know, it's really, the internet used to be this great equalizer in terms of independent art, you know, where you could compete with, you know, corporate art and mainstream pop culture. It's actually you know, with the advent of like clickbait articles and things like that, it's actually starting to be a lot more difficult again. So this is how we're holding on. So like, if you just want to support something that's independent, please consider doing that. And again, I hope everybody doesn't mind me kind of taking over and yammering on about dinosaurs for the next few weeks.
No, I think it's perfect. I think it's great. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Did you have anything that you wanted to endorse otherwise?
I have been so busy with that. I really haven't done my, well, actually, I talked about this a little bit on my Facebook earlier, so I'll just repeat this. Jamie got me Doom Patrol Season 1 on Blu-ray as a Christmas present, and I endorsed it back when the show was new, but I really like it. And I, you know, going back and rewatching it, I just have to say, you know, I'm classified as mentally ill or neuroatypical or whatever you want to call it. I don't like a lot of the terminologies. But most of the time when I go to a movie, particularly superhero stories, I've had to accept the fact that people like me in film and fiction, whatever, are 99% of the time portrayed as being the bad guy. And that's just something that I've had to swallow a long time. Whereas like I watch Doom Patrol and you have characters like Cliff Steele or you know, Jane, who both have, you know, like diagnoses that I share with them. They're very solidly the heroes, and I just have to give them that hats off for that representation, because it's so rare and it's very important. And yet I don't think people talk about that as much as, you know, when we talk about diversity as a thing, you know, it's something that kind of gets swept under the rug, because I think talking about having psychological differences it's invisible in some ways, and also like people don't like to talk about it because it's not tidy. So you know, it's considered unseemly. So you know, I love the Doom Patrol exists, and I hope it gets many more seasons, because I get choked up so many times watching it.
That's fabulous. Thank you very much, Julia.
I will say that I did not watch the Super Bowl because I'm not a big football fan. However, I did tune in for the halftime show, and being an almost 50-year-old Latina woman, watching these two just amazing, hot 140-something, 150-year-old Latina women just dancing. And I know there's been already people on there going, oh, it's too much gyrating. It's too much sexual content, you know, but I'm just like, dude, these women are amazing. Just like, hats off to them, Shakira and J-Lo. So I would endorse, and I just actually watched the full, because I tuned in and it had already started. I watched the full thing on online, and so you could actually watch it. It's really just amazing to see these people that are moms and, you know, just like busy women of a certain age, and they just look incredible, and they're amazing dancers, and they have this really fun music. It's exciting. So I'm endorsing them and the halftime show for today. That is my endorsement.
Fabulous. Tony, what about you?
I'm gonna shill again for Amazon and Shout Factory TV, which have both just provided my late night kind of, I'm gonna chill out and watch some things. Also though, there's a film which I haven't seen, and I feel bad because I wasn't able to make it at Fantastic Fest, and I meant to. I liked the director's other movie, VFW, which is, you know, mutant druggy punks versus a team of vets. But he's got another movie called Bliss. It's a vampire movie. It's relatively short. It's like 80 minutes. It's on Shudder if you have that. I need to sit down and watch it But a lot of the reason I'm sight unseen endorsing it is the director's done a bunch of cool stuff and shows up at Fantastic Fest, and it's pretty awesome. His partner and editor, partner as far as editing his films and doing stuff with them, is really, really cool. Has done a lot of editing, really cool stuff. Does the sound design. But Bliss on Shudder. I need to watch it, but everybody I know and trust who has dug it, came out with resounding, "Hey, you should check this out." So I'm gonna go there because I also need to watch it, but I've heard nothing but good things, and it just recently showed up on Shudder. So catch you some crazy, weird indie vampire movies.
Fantastic. So my endorsement actually, nothing new per se. So I've been trying to hit this deadline, and so I've been getting up early in the morning trying to work on chapters, and then I'm trying to work on them at night. And sometimes, if I'm just editing something that, or running spell checks, or some sort of a task that doesn't require me to be creating new stuff, I'll play movies on the Roku. And I discovered on Vimeo there's a bunch of double features, and I found one that is a double feature of Jess Franco exploitation horror drive-in movies from Spain, and they are to die for. The film A Virgin Among the Living Dead is like nothing I've ever seen. It's blew my mind. These movies make no sense at all. I should also mention that Scream Screen is still going strong in Denver, hosted by the amazing Teresa Mercado, and they'll be back soon with their car horror series. But last night they showed The House by the Cemetery by Lucio Fulci, and it was a gory, nightmarish dream vision. Absolutely fantastic, brand new 4K restoration, available on Blu-ray, and I was just blown away. It was like a plot that I would love to borrow, I think is the word that we're going to use. And it was fabulous because it was like, "Hey, Julia, I just got this job picking up some research with this professor, and we're going to earn a whole bunch of money if we go stay in a haunted mansion in Massachusetts because that's the one that they rented for the professor. Does that sound okay?" And you're like, "Sure."
And I'm like, have fun. Go ahead and make sure your life insurance is updated before you go, would you?
Right.
It's a house by a cemetery, and people be dying there all the time. There's actually my favorite thing in this. They find, this house belonged to a creepy dude called, no kidding, Freudstein, who had this place years ago.
Awesome.
And the wife, now that they've moved in, she's kind of cleaning up the place next to the bay window. She pulls back a rug and she realizes that there's a tomb in the foyer, like right in front of the bay window. There's literally a big stone tombstone in the floor, and there's a tomb. And so she goes, "There's a tomb," and she tells the husband after she has kind of a freak out, and he goes, "Oh no, this is New England. All these houses have tombs."
See, Julia, at one point you might have gone, well, maybe it'll be an adventure to move there.
Right.
Now that you've seen enough movies,
Right.
then I think we have the Julia of today who goes, "Yeah, you go have fun in your tomb house."
Actually, though, you say that, and I think probably the Julia of today, I mean, once my kids have, graduated from high school and moved on and whatever, is more likely to do it because I'm less afraid of stuff because of all this, like that's the thing. It's like the more horror movies you watch, the less afraid you are of things.
Sure.
So
I
I
still
actually
don't
can
know if
see
I'd be
myself
down.
being less likely. Huh?
I would not be down with Tomb House. Again,
Right.
I've
No,
seen
I
enough
wouldn't
horror
be down with
movies.
Toon House, but I was like Toon House. That sounds like a totally different thing. It's like part,
Filmation.
like
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, no, I'm just saying that there are certain things that now, having seen as much stuff as I've seen, that I would be more likely to enjoy than I would have been before, because of the fact that I'd be like, "Oh, this is just like that horror movie." You know what I mean? It's supposed to be. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want anything to do with any of this. But yes, no, Tomb House is not on the plan.
I'm
So
the
Or
opposite.
Cabin in the
with-
Woods. No Cabins in the Woods. I'm actually really opposed. Even though Cabins in the Woods sound kind of romantic and neat, I am super opposed to Cabins in the Woods
I'm
by
just
themselves.
afraid. I think I'm still just afraid of, Rob Zombie style rednecks, which is where
Exactly.
yes. Yeah. No.
I
No.
grew
No.
up.
No kidding.
Where I grew up, that's maybe a possibility, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the
for
hills
sure.
have eyes. Maybe that could be a
Or this,
thing.
whatever that Strangers, whatever that movie.
My favorite moment. They have like a like a 6-year-old son who's like playing with his car and his little toy car as he sits in their car, their station wagon, and they go in to talk to their real estate agent. And they're like, "You stay here, Bob," because Italians don't know what names we're actually going to give kids. So they imagined that we would name a little kid Bob. But "You stay here, Bob." And they go in and they just leave him there, and they have a mild freak out when they come out and he's like wandered across the street to play in the park. But I'm thinking, so this is back in 1980 when people were just like, I don't know, I'll leave my kid in the car. Hell yeah. Anytime. No problem.
We cracked the window slightly. I mean,
Yes. And, they have a babysitter who just shows up who the movie's full of like red herrings. Lucio Fulci is creating all these mysteries, some of which don't pay off. And the babysitter just shows up out of nowhere and they're like, "Who the hell are you?" She just walks in. It's like, "Oh, the real estate agent lady sent me. I'm the new babysitter." This beautiful woman with spooky gray eyes and sometimes doesn't respond, so she might actually be dead. And they don't look her up. They don't check her papers or anything. They're just like, "Oh, well, there's a bedroom for you. Good to have a babysitter around." I love movies like this.
There are probably plenty of people who do just that,
Sure.
I'm sure.
I guess, and that's what it was like in the 60s
I
and
mean, I don't
70s.
run background checks on my 13-year-old babies. Well, when I have them, 13-year-old
really supervision?
babysitters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be like, "Oh, hey, you look like you're about 13. Do you babysit?"
So I've taken up enough time talking about The House by the Cemetery, but you definitely must check it out. I know there's a grungy old version on YouTube, and I don't know, that runs ads, so maybe that's legit. But there's a brand new one that you can actually see that is available.
do you know what
on
studio is putting it out?
Blue Underground. I don't know that group, but it is a beautiful 4K restoration. And the Vestron release from the 80s, actually, this will make you laugh, had a real out of order, so that people who were dead were suddenly alive again, and you were completely thrown by what the heck was
That's
going
amazing.
on. It just literally got released, mass released, out all across America with like 20 minutes just simply out of order.
That would be so weird.
It's mind blowing. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, and easily the easiest. This is the most understandable Lucio Fulci movie I've ever seen. So there we go. That brings us to the end of our discussion, and I'm sorry we spent so much time on the House by the Cemetery. Our discussion of the Valley of Gwangi. Absolutely look for the Valentine's Day that Time Forgot that Drew was telling you about, and come to the Facebook page. Let us know what you think about all of these things. We want to hear from you and engage. I announced last week that we were taking a week off, and we didn't, because here we are. But this week we are, so we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Unless something weird happens. Thank you. Have a fantastic evening. Bye, guys.
Night.
All right.
Night.